Ladies and gentlemen, it is October, the day before Halloween, and today on Fighting the Void, we have we have an interesting guest today. We have young Clay Bradley, whom I've interacted with on Twitter for quite a while now, and he's on the show today. Actually, not in his capacity as Bethany's boyfriend, which that may be how most people know him. He's either Bethany's boyfriend or the crazy airsoft guy. Well, Clay has
World War
many
II,
other.
NASCAR, just all of the above.
Oh, right. I mixed the airsoft and the World War II
Like
uniforms. I mixed that
World War
together.
II, and then there's NASCAR, and then there's the conservativeness.
Of course, yes. The street cred is well established. However, Clay is actually here because he has other things about his life that maybe others don't know, and that is the fact that he actually knows, apparently, based on our conversation just before we went live, fairly well Bill Whittle and the crew and his whole crew.
I have not met Steve Green in any capacity. I've interacted with Scott and Bill, but I have never interacted with Steve Green.
Okay, fair enough. Scott and Bill. In fact, you were just telling me, Clay, a story about showing up on the Stratosphere Lounge once a couple of months ago.
Yeah, so I had asked Bill if I could go to the Stratosphere Lounge and watch the show, and he was like, "Oh yeah, sure." So, multiple things kept coming up. Of the first time we were supposed to do it is when one of his cats died, and so I completely forgot that was happening that day, which kind of worked out because Bill wasn't in a good mood, regardless. And then it was just every Thursday was, okay, yes, I'm doing it tonight, but I have work right before and right after, so it would not be a good day to show up. Or it would be, no, I have stuff going on, I have to go. So there was finally a yes, and I did not want to be late. Spoiler alert, I was horrifically. Because LA traffic is horrible, and I wasn't even in LA County when the traffic started. I live technically 2 counties away. So you have LA County, and then it's Orange County, and then Riverside. I'm in Riverside, all the way down by San Diego County.
Okay.
So I had 2 counties to cross, and there were car accidents on all 3. So I showed up, oh gosh, like 30 minutes late, and Bill had to run down and grab me because the building his studio in was locked. Actually, to make matters worse, it actually wasn't locked. Somebody had seen me out there and unlocked it, and that was after I already tried all the doors to get in. So I was just horrifically embarrassed. I'm still happy that he talks to me after that. But oh man, yeah, he had to do some dead air on his show away from the chair, and I was just horrifically embarrassed. But while I was up there, I got my dad a mug for Father's Day. So Father's Day of this year, if you want to go and find the video, I got some Bill Willow t-shirts, and yeah, that was a fun event. So also, before I begin, that's where I planned out for him to be on the Babylon Bee. So his appearance on the Babylon Bee was because of me and Bethany.
No kidding.
Yeah, I told Bill after the show, I'm like, hey, we can probably get you onto the Babylon Bee. And he was like, that would be awesome if you can pull that off. So Bethany contacted them and got in contact with Ethan Nicole, because I guess their regular booker guy was sick or off or something like that. And so Bethany handed Ethan off to Bill's normal assistant manager person, and so they figured out the date, and that's how Bill showed up onto the Babylon Bee.
That is awesome. So you've got a few little connections here and there over in conservative internet punditry land.
Yeah, I've I had a chance to meet Larry Elder when he was running for governor.
Oh,
He
dude.
showed up in my town, but I had no idea, so I
Dang.
wasn't able to go meet him. But yeah, I've met pretty much everybody at the Daily Wire except for Candace and Matt.
Right, because they did that backstage when they were still in LA.
Yeah, and then when Bethany started working there, I was driving up there quite a bit, helping her look for apartments and all that. And pretty
Right.
much every time we were up there, Jeremy's like, "Come on by." So got to meet Jeremy, hung out with Knowles a little bit, hung out with Jeremy quite a bit in his office. And while Bethany was working there, uh, for my birthday, Bill was recording the What We Saw series on the Cold War, and Bethany's like, "Hey, come into the office, and we have somebody you might want to meet." And so I got to go and check out the recording studio, and in walked Bill. So that's the first place I met Bill, and there's
Okay.
pictures of that on my Instagram, which
That's awesome.
yeah,
And that's a phenomenal series. I'm actually just started re-listening to it. But re-listening to it with like my older kids as well, just so they can actually learn something about the Cold War, because guess what, they don't teach in school these days.
yeah, I had to take a AP U.S. history to learn anything about that, and in my world history class, I slept half the time and I still got a B. I did not pay attention at all during the World War II section, and I literally, me and my buddies would just play tic tac toe during that entire chapter of class. And me and my buddy I'd play tic tac toe with, we both only missed one question on the test.
Well, I mean, it's you, so
Yeah,
I mean that's fair.
yeah. Um,
Now, I mean, it's funny in particular. Um, I was with my kids in DC a couple of years ago. This is one of the things that really got us thinking about homeschooling. Was we were at the American History Museum, and we went through we went through some of the exhibits there, and we got to the part on the Cold War, and kids were like, "Dad, what is this? I don't." I was like, "We've heard it, but we don't know anything about it." I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me! This is a problem." And it was that kind of it was that and a couple of other things that got us thinking about homeschooling. And then, Whittle and his presentation is fantastic,
oh, it's just
both in that
phenomenal.
Cold War series, and of course the Apollo 11, which is just it's one of the best things I've ever seen on the internet, to be perfectly honest.
Oh yeah.
And more recently, the America's Forgotten Heroes series, um, all of it's fantastic. And for those who don't know who Bill Whittle is, you're doing yourself a disservice,
So
because
let's go
yes,
back to the dark times before the Daily Wire. There was a thing called PJTV.
I have heard of this mostly from Bill Whittle, but Clavin has mentioned PJ Media as well, and I know Crowder worked at PJTV, and it's kind of
Yeah, so
like the genesis of a lot of things that are all big now.
I'm going to tell my conservative story very shortly. Of I very much liked the three primetime hosts while I was in middle school of uh, Kelly, O'Reilly, and Hannity,
Hmm.
and I watched that more or less all the way up through high school. And then I started following some right wing pages on Facebook, and I found a guy by the name of Zoe Rachel, who is currently doing the Virtue Signal with Bill. And Zoe, through Zoe, I found Bill, thought Bill was absolutely amazing. This is all in 2015.
Hmm.
And then through Bill, I found his videos that he did for Truth Revolt.
Okay.
And from there, I found Ben Shapiro.
Hmm.
And then 2015 came to an end, and 2016 started, and PJ Media closed up their YouTube operation. And Jeremy had said that PJ Media was probably the greatest coming together of conservative punditry that's ever happened. It's imagine what the Blaze TV is now if it was
Mhm.
melded with Daily Wire.
Right, which almost
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, and that was basically PJ Media. You had
Mhm,
Crowder, you had Zoe Rachel, you had Andrew Clavin,
mhm,
Bill Whittle, Jeremy Boring was behind the scenes. Um, I don't think Ben ever got in there, but Scott Ott had a satire series which was phenomenal. And so it was just this like it blew whatever Fox News was out of the water. I just stopped watching Fox altogether after I found PJ Media, and PJ TV specifically, and I got to enjoy it for a solid year, and then it closed up, and I saw Andrew Clavin write this article saying, if you want to see my content, go over to or my continue my content.
mhm.
I'm doing 30-minute to an hour podcasts over at this new place called the Daily Wire. And Clavin's stuff at PJTV was kind of satirical. It wasn't really in depth. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I cannot take an hour of this guy. Now he's doing like a 2 hour show. And it was a
Right.
lot more palatable. But imagine his intro, but
Uh-huh.
strung out for like 10 minutes. That would be one of his segments at PJTV. Um,
I don't know that I would dislike it because I love his intro so much. They're
I
hilarious.
can send you some of his older stuff if I can find it. It's the
Oh, that'd be
YouTube.
fantastic.
Yeah, the YouTube channel was purchased by Town Hall. So now if
Okay.
you go to, I think it's Town Hall Media is now the
Okay.
current YouTube channel, but if you go into their playlist, you can find some old PJ TV stuff. And to my knowledge, they didn't delete any of it either. So it's still floating out around there on the interwebs, on the
Gotcha.
YouTubes.
See, it's so funny because I never heard of PJTV until it was dead.
Yeah, that was something Jeremy said, is that they had the greatest lineup ever and they didn't promote themselves.
No, because I honestly I had no idea that it existed. If it wasn't for some of those guys mentioning that they used to work there, I still wouldn't know that it ever existed. And so that's really interesting to me. And I'm not a guy who's ever spent a lot of time away from the internet since there's been an internet. Basically, if as soon as the internet became something that was affordable where I lived, I've basically been on it in one capacity. I apologize for that, ladies and gentlemen. Um, Technical difficulties because, well, my internet sucks. And I'm really hoping that after we successfully move, that that at least move to our temporary location, that things improve in that regard. We shall see. But in the meantime, I'm getting Clay back here real quick, and yeah, it'll be just a second. Don't you worry. There we go. There we go. Just a second. Hey, sorry about that.
Hey, we're back.
My
Okay.
my internet is atrocious.
Yeah,
And
you're frozen. I just see you.
That seems about right. And I'm hoping once we get to our rental here in another week or two that the internet there will be better, but we'll see.
Cool. Hey,
We'll
I mean,
we'll see how
it's
it.
a live show. Things happen.
Yeah, exactly. This is how the sausage gets made, people.
Yeah. So, what we were talking about, I heard
PJ
the last.
Median so strange
Yeah, the
it
last thing
was
I
that I
heard
never
you.
knew about it.
Yeah, the last thing I heard you say was, you've been on an internet as long as it's been available to you.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. And the fact that I didn't know that there was a PJ Media. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't always as politically plugged in as I am these days. So it's possible that I was more into things theological and more nerdy back during that time frame. So yeah, maybe that's why it escaped my notice.
Yeah, but even Jeremy was talking about that it wasn't very publicized very much. So
Yeah, but at the same time, it did bring a lot of people together, and it did spawn Daily Wire, and gave Crowder his start,
hmm
and a few other things. And yes, Margot, I have heard of Truth Revolt, mostly because Clavin and Shapiro bring it up every now and again.
there's some Bill Whittle firewalls on there that are just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, and you know what? It was Bill Whittle actually. He made the most. He made the first case that made me think about voting for Trump back in 2016. Because I was initially like very much not interested in Trump at all. I'm like, no, the dude's character is just atrocious. I can't in good conscience. There's just no way. Um, it's like, oh, yeah, some of the stuff he says is good, but they all say good things. I have zero confidence that this guy's going to try to fulfill anything. I was wrong, incidentally, but that's beside the point. The point is, he made a comment that he made an argument that made me actually think about it, and that was his Hillary versus a turnip argument.
I think I vaguely remember this.
It was basically just Hillary is going to do all of these horrible things. The turnip will do nothing.
Yeah,
Which
I
would be
remember.
better?
Okay, yeah, I totally remember this argument. Yeah,
And Donald Trump, well, might at least actually try to do something better than what Hillary would do. So therefore, if you would vote for the turnip, you should logically vote for Donald Trump. Well, this is obviously the thumbnail sketch of the argument. I was like, this is literally the most compelling case I've seen.
yeah, I think Bill is very much underrated in conservative hosts.
Extremely,
Uh,
extremely underrated.
back during the Tea Party days, from what I
Mhm.
understand, he was the guy to get. He was the Ben Shapiro of the Tea Party days. And so the people in the know knew him, but anybody outside really didn't.
Okay, now that gets to one of the questions that I sparked this whole conversation in the first place. Why do more people not know and appreciate the greatness of Bill Whittle?
Um, well, he's a little humble to a fault. He does not want to go out there and push his name. He'd rather have other people go out there and push his name. So he is slightly in need of a talent agent in that realm. Um, but it's that. And whenever he starts growing on YouTube, YouTube hides him.
I believe that.
And I have seen it. So you know how on YouTube where you have your subscription feed, of
Right.
like where all your subscribers are.
Mhm.
I have watched it to where YouTube has taken Bill, and Bill specifically, and drug him to the very bottom where all the other inactive accounts are on your subscription feed. And boom, gone.
Huh.
And I've already gotten to the habit of just clicking on his YouTube channel to find his stuff. So I don't really know I don't really know how it's showing up, but Bill said that he's watched his numbers, and if you actually go through his YouTube channel, you can see this, that his videos start getting up to about 10,000 views, and then 11, and then 12, and then 7.
Huh. So
Yeah.
YouTube is definitely playing shenanigans with
Oh,
him.
yeah. And he's a smaller outfit and does not have the monetary resources that Steven Crowder does, and can't really go out and wage the war against YouTube that Crowder is capable of.
Well, that, sir, is a damn tragedy. But yeah, perhaps it's his humbleness just as much. It's like, dang humility.
Yeah, like I said, he's a little humble to a fault of not wanting to go out there and put his own name out there. He was on the Babylon Bee because me and Bethany teamed up and contacted the Babylon Bee about getting him on. And luckily, Ethan Nicole is a huge fan of his. And so that's how we got him onto the Babylon Bee.
Well, I definitely hope that helped him out with getting some more subscribers and hopefully a few paying members too.
Yeah, so the Babylon Bee, he was on that, and then at the same time he was also on Mike Rowe's show. And if you have not listened to that, yeah, and if you haven't listened to that, that was a very good talk. But yeah, so just some other metric data of where Bill's supposed to be in terms of viewership numbers is that the last time I checked, both him and Matt Walsh had a similar account or subscriber notice or subscriber
base.
Yes, yeah. That. Thank you. And Matt was getting about 100,000 views per video, and Bill was getting 10. So, yeah. If you look at his actual subscriber base, it's about like 130,000, I think. I may be off on that. And he gets about 10,000 views per video.
That don't seem right to me.
No.
Especially, yeah. I mean, nothing against Walsh, but like most people with a daily show, well, and to be fair, maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's the fact that Walsh's daily.
Yeah, but Bill pumps out content every single day as well.
He does pump out a lot of content. That's for dang sure.
Yeah, like when it comes to actually being in charge of uploading and letting people know of his content, he's uploading a video every single day. Now, he only shoots on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but he puts a video up every single day.
Okay. Now, I wonder, gosh, I'm not sure why, because, again, one of the things that I like about Whittle, he doesn't just stick to talking points. He doesn't just do stuff that's on...
No, and this comes from having a sorry to cut you off, but this comes from having a Tuesday and Thursday show only, where he's only shooting those 2 days. The rest of the time he's working on his he's trying to get a animated series going out of Unreal Engine, and the first episode for the pitch, like just to get his members interested and to show him what he means, is going to be appearing very soon. As of last Thursday, he said the audio needs to be mixed into the video and music and everything put in, but yeah, it should be coming out pretty soon, and that'll be for Bill Whittle members only.
No kidding. Well, I'll have to make sure I keep up my membership, because I'd be interested to check this out.
Yes, and from what I've seen of it, is very good. It's a little corny, but it's good.
That's okay. I can handle a little corny. One of my favorite movies of all time is Flash Gordon, and that's like peak corn.
Yeah.
But I do like the fact that he doesn't just stick with talking points. He doesn't just go with whatever the outrage of the day is. I mean, yes, he does those segments, of course, but he does a lot more than that. And a lot of times the content is very spontaneous. Like when he was doing Bill Whittle Now for a while, when Scott would just, here's a topic. Bill doesn't know what the topic's going to be at all, and Scott just throws it out there, and Bill will just go off for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's impressive. I don't care who you are.
Oh yeah, yeah. Bill, he's not fast on his feet like Shapiro is, but like you give him time, and Bill said that because he's not fast on his feet, what he does is he says, "What's the highest freedom angle that I can take with this?"
Mm-hmm.
And then he just launches off from there. And what comes out of his mouth is usually very, very good. And then he starts talking about Star Wars or something, and then wraps it back and
Yeah,
becomes very good.
he's got such a massive, wide knowledge base that he uses to draw everything together, and it's one of the things that I think really separates him from a lot of other commentators, and does earn him the title of most underrated conservative pundit out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know Jeremy wanted to have Bill as a regular podcast host, but Bill ultimately declined it because so for those of you who don't know, Bill has his own podcast called Stratosphere Lounge, which he streams on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And it's typically every Thursday night unless something comes up. But a few weeks ago, he was talking about Shakespeare, and it was a complete Shakespeare episode. And then most of the time, it's modern news and politics.
Mm-hmm.
Some other days, it'll just be, hey, what's some personal stuff that you want to know about me? And he was saying if he were to sign up with the Daily Wire, he can't really do that free form of a show. And so it would turn into, basically what all the other shows are. And then Bill told me, he was like, if I had it, he's like, it would be the second best show there. He's like, it wouldn't be Clavin or Knowles, it would be me. And it's just like, okay, Bill, I don't think you're wrong, but okay, just calm down a little bit.
Honestly, I would say he's probably right, but he's also right that his show then would probably not be terribly different than everyone else's show.
No, it just comes with having. It's two things really. It's having the daily show and having to constantly talk about things, and the other thing is sponsors and clicks. It's what do the sponsors want? What do the fans want?
Yep.
So you can't just have a slow news day, and it's just like, it's a slow news day, so I didn't prep anything for the show. Today we're going to talk about the Korean War.
Yeah. And again, this is one of the things that I love about Whittle. He just does what he does. And he doesn't do it with any major organization behind him. He doesn't do it with major sponsors. Nothing. I think the only thing he's ever done with a sponsor, to my knowledge, is just the Cold War series.
Yeah, well,
and
I know the Patriot Post,
like his his multi-part series. I think.
Yeah, that's still through the Daily Wire. But as far as his personal stuff, he's gotten a few small sponsorships here and there. He was doing stuff for the NRA, NRA TV a while back.
I remember when he was doing the Hot Mic show.
Mm-hmm. And he said that there was certain things they couldn't come to an impasse about, as far as the contractual stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that that's why that show stopped. And he said, like, it was a few months later that all the scandals about NRA TV came out, and Bill was kind of like, oh man, God kind of saved me out of that one.
Yeah. I don't know about NRA TV in particular, but I do know the NRA has just been in trouble.
Yeah, so
years now.
As far as the NRA TV, just to get sidetracked, apparently they weren't that connected with the NRA. They basically had the same name and the same talking points, but they were a completely different organization, and they got horribly mismanaged. And there's, I think, some stuff about fraud. And the NRA, when asked about it, was like, we don't know what's going on. We just contract the name out. And yeah. So not
cool.
Some very good stuff. Yeah.
Good job, guys. Well managed. Yeah. Idiots. Yeah. That's okay. I've been part of my own not. I've had my own experience with things that were reasonably big on the internet that were horribly mismanaged, and there was fraud involved and whatnot.
I mean, when there's a lot of money, there's bound to be that stuff. Like I've seen some YouTube just from my neck of woods with NASCAR. I've seen multiple videos of swindlers and hoodlums and a bunch of horrible people who've come in and out of that sport just looking to make a buck because there's millions of dollars just floating around and people try to get in and grab it and run. And I imagine having a media company is really no different.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
It's the same two common factors: a lot of money and corrupt human beings. And
Yeah, welcome to the world, and as the Hardboiled Entertainment points out, Bill likes to talk about space a lot.
Yeah, as Michael Knowles has said, I think this is almost directly quoting Knowles, saying, I think he cares more about the moon than he does about U.S. politics.
That may actually be true ultimately. There's just not always as much to talk about, and it probably won't get as much traffic, that's for sure. But I do love it because, one, I'm also a space nerd. So I'm like, yes, please, whenever you want to go ahead, talk about Elon Musk, the moon, Burt Rutan, I want to hear more. I'm definitely the guy that I eat up every episode they do on that. And it's just fantastic. And honestly, Bill's passion probably does, in fact, most come out when he's talking on those subjects.
Yeah, I have a friend who's very much not interested in that stuff at all.
Mhm.
And he finally got around to listening to that and he listened to the space what we saw, and then he got onto the Cold War. And again, this is somebody who kind of more libertarian minded but is not interested in space or really outside of that. And he's on the phone with me, he's like, Clay, they stole something from us. It was stolen. We were supposed to travel the stars, and they stole it from us.
It's true, though.
Yeah.
It's so freaking true. I remember I was getting mad when I was reading. I think it was Robert Zubrin, I think is the author. He's a scientist who's been very big on advocating colonization of Mars. Like, he's been at it for probably 20 years at least.
Speaking of which, Bill Whittle should have a Mars-themed TSL coming up either next weekend or the week after. It's Bill, so it runs off Bill time, and we don't know when that is, but it should be coming up soon.
If you find out, let me know. I will try to tune in for that.
I shall.
And then just what was it? Oh yeah, Zubrin. And I was reading was one of his books. I can't remember exactly what the name of it was, but it was went into the history a little bit of what happened. Why did the space program stop being cool? And
because we went to the moon to the point that it became boring.
Well, we went to the moon, and then there was just, once we went, there was no political will to really keep going.
Well, it's like you do something once and it's amazing, and then you do it again and it's still amazing. But by Apollo 17, we had kind of gotten bored going to the moon.
Yeah, not to mention it was expensive, and we had this thing called the Vietnam War going on, and that was basically why it was canceled. And then they, wanted to do the space shuttle, and that just didn't work out at all like it was planned.
Yeah, because Russians.
Well, Russians, and it was expensive.
Well, no, that's seriously the thing, is that the space station was supposed to be a launching point to go out even further, but we had to move the International Space Station on a higher point on the Earth's rotation so the Russians can get to it. And then we had a space shuttle to go up to the space station, and a space station so the Russians and the space shuttle could go to. And we got into a circular argument that ultimately goes nowhere, like the space station.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it took us forever to even get a space station.
Yeah.
I mean, the space shuttle was basically on its last legs before we even really started building the dang thing. Which is just atrocious. I mean,
yeah.
I was I was a huge space nerd when I was a kid, like huge. Like the movie Space Camp. For anybody who doesn't know what this movie is, it's basically there's a place called Space Camp down in Huntsville, Alabama. You don't know?
I don't think so.
Okay, it's one of those '80s teenage wish fulfillment movies
Okay.
where it's just like it's in a lot of the same spirit as movies like The Explorers, Iron Eagle, Last Starfighter.
Okay.
Same sort of thing insofar as it's young kid gets like insane opportunity to do amazing thing. Speaking of young kid, hey little one, what are you doing? Are you interrupting my podcast again? Oh well, thank you, little sweetheart. All right, that's a good night hug, little munchkin. All right, now get out of here.
I'll take the child interruptions over the internet freezing.
Yeah, no kidding. It's a lot cuter.
Yeah.
But anyway, Space Camp in particular. There is down in Huntsville, Alabama, at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, something called Space Camp, where young astronaut wannabes go to learn about being astronauts. And there was this movie, loosely based on this notion, in which Leah Thompson, who you might recognize from Back to the Future, and and Kelly Preston and a bunch of other people, including one of the Phoenix brothers. They're all down there for their space camp week or two or however long it is to have their little astronaut experience. And they're all most of them are teenagers and everything, and they're all super smart. And one of the things that they get to do is they get to actually go and sit in the space shuttle over at Cape Canaveral during like an engine test.
Mm-hmm.
And super cool, right?
Yeah.
And a sentient robot buddy of the young Phoenix brother basically changes the settings and launches them into space.
Okay, so it's basically like what, Apollo 10, where they just decided to go to the moon and around it because
no, they didn't go to the moon. They didn't go to the moon. The whole thing was, holy crap, we're in space. We're not supposed to be, and we have nothing we are not equipped to be out here at all, and there's only one actual astronaut with us.
Fun.
And it's yeah, and they go to a space station that didn't exist in the real world at the time to get extra oxygen. Anyway, super cool, super fun. It was like my favorite movie at the time. And I maintained being a space nerd even after the Challenger blew up, which I remember vividly, January 28, 1986. I never have to look it up. It was a very pivotal moment in my life.
That's over 10 years before I was born.
Sorry. Sorry to make myself feel old. But it was that didn't change my love of space. It didn't change my desire to be an astronaut or anything like that. What did was when I was reading about the experiments we were doing on the space shuttle when we finally went back, which took way too long. It was like, wait a minute, we're studying how guppies mate in a zero-G environment.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
How fungus spreads, that type of stuff.
Are you freaking kidding me? Yeah. This is what we're doing in space. Seeing how we're studying guppy sex. No.
Instead of going off to asteroids, mining asteroids, and making the price of gold and platinum absolutely worthless.
Right. Or anything else. Going in, like to Mars, whatever. I mean, I have seen so many different we're going to Mars initiatives launched in my lifetime. It's insane. Like just about every president has had something like that. I'm directing NASA to come up with a plan to Mars, just like the moonshot, and they'll wake me up when we get there. And
it's too dangerous. We're sending a robot instead,
or something, or another. It's like I'm legitimately pissed off about it. And then, of course, And especially since, after Obama killed the space shuttle, and don't worry, we're going to have this whole Orion system and everything, which initially I was very excited about, because back in
See,
the
I've grown
day,
up with this, so whenever a politician starts talking about space, it just goes in one ear and out the other.
that's funny. Yeah, understandable. I still had a little sliver of hope for a long time. So, gosh, what yeah, the Orion system, way back in the day, in the heyday when we were still going to go to Mars and Jupiter and everything, there was a system that was developed called the Orion, called the Orion, and it was basically a spaceship powered by blowing up nuclear bombs behind it.
That sounds fun.
Yes. So when I heard them say Orion, I'm like, what? They're building the Orion? No way. And then I'm like, oh, we're going back to capsules. That's cool. I guess.
And then Bert and Dick Rutan build an airplane that can fly from an airstrip up and out of the
Yep. Spaceship One, man.
Yeah, and then they sell it to Virgin Galactic, and Virgin Galactic sits on their butts for what was it, 20 years?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, until they didn't even go to space.
Yeah.
And they keep saying that they did, and circling back to Bill Whittle,
Yes.
there's a video of Bill on his channel making a huge rant about all that, about how they didn't actually go to space, because it was something like, I forget how far up the Kármán line is. It's like 432 miles, or I don't remember. Or I forget. There's a specific line called the Kármán line, and I forget how high up it goes. But it's so high up, and they didn't even break it. They came shy of it, and they redefined what space was, so they could be the first private enterprise to go into space.
Ugh. I don't care about Branson and this, because for him, apparently, it really is just a vanity project. Bezos it kind of is too. The only one who's really doing anything with it with any real vision is Musk, with whom I have my own. I did, there's a couple of issues I got with Musk, but when it comes to that, he's the freaking
let me
man.
let me just say though, of all the issues of the American motor companies, I'd much rather buy a Camaro or a Mustang than a Tesla. They're for me, I love cars. Not as much as other people, but I do love cars, and there is nothing sexy or appealing about a Tesla. It is like very much a go to point A to point B vehicle, which is, if your thing, fine, but there's nothing fun about them except maybe their 2-second 0 to 60. But even when you get into the suspension, you can't drive those things around a corner for anything.
Really?
Yeah. So I looked this up. So on the Nürburgring, which is kind of the ultimate test of suspension and how a car handles, a Tesla Model 3, which has a 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, performed at the Nürburgring in what was it? I think 7 minutes and 44 seconds. Yeah. And a GT350 Mustang, which has a 0 to 60 about twice that of what the Tesla has, performed it in 7 minutes and 32 seconds. And the new Corvette Z06 is expected to do it in under 7 minutes. And it has a 0 to 60 of 2.2 seconds. So it's a Tesla is not a fun car outside of the tech and outside of the launch. It is very much just to get from point A to point B.
Yeah,
except the Tesla Roadster, which they built, I think, 2 of them, and one of them is not on this planet currently playing David Bowie.
I do have to admit, I love that. I
Yeah.
love that so much. It is it is cool that uh, I do enjoy Musk's flair for the dramatic.
It's something Bill has very much praised is that they're having fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something and you're not having fun, then why are you doing that? And that's something that Bill has praised SpaceX for immensely, is that everybody looks like they're having fun.
Yeah, they're having a good time doing what they're doing, and they're doing it well. And Musk isn't afraid to just
blow up a rocket,
blow up a rocket or 12, whatever it takes. And I gotta admit, when I first saw what his Starship actually looks like, I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
So apparently, for the spacesuits by SpaceX, it's in the contract that the spacesuit has to look cool.
That is awesome. I appreciate that immensely, actually. Between things like that and like the Starship, it literally looks like a rocket from like an artist concept rocket of what 2010 was going to look like in a book about space exploration that was made in the 50s. It literally it looks the way that the rocket of the future was supposed to look.
Just going
10 years too late, but
just talking about the blowing up rockets, when they made the capsule for NASA, it was we need to test this for what happens if there's something wrong with the rocket and they need to escape. Did they just test the capsule off of a rocket? No, they blew up a rocket and had the capsule escape.
Oh man, they blew up the rocket on purpose.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah,
not just let's see if it works. No, we actually need it to blow up to make sure this other part works.
Mm-hmm.
You mean you want to? You know how much money that should we do like a dummy rocket? No, I mean we need the real thing, right?
Yeah, we need to test that this is able to get away from a rocket exploding. The only way to test that is to blow up a rocket.
That's just amazeballs. I love it. It occurs to me too. Just as we're talking, in a way, the Starship isn't anything. In a way, it's not new because it's kind of one of the concepts for the Apollo program that was rejected was if I remember right, it was called the Nova. And it was basically what the Starship seems to be, which is just a one-piece rocket. It goes up, it goes down, no multi-stages, no nothing. They just wound up rejecting it because this thing's going to be huge.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember if you go in and watch what we saw, and I mean actually watch it, which is only behind Daily Wire paywall now. Unless it's in the third episode, which there is still a third episode floating around on YouTube, and it's basically the Bill Whittle cut because the Daily Wire screwed up some video, and so Bill went back and he said, "Hey, you used the wrong video for this. Here's the real video." And so they fixed that. So there's a Bill Whittle cut of episode 3 on YouTube. Yeah, they show what it was supposed to be, and then showed them going to the Saturn V, which is a V2 on steroids.
Many steroids.
Oh yes.
Just the fact that the Saturn V has not been surpassed yet in lift capacity is amazing. I think the Falcon Super Heavy or whatever's beyond that might actually wind up beating it out, which is the next heavy rocket in development from SpaceX might actually beat it out or be more or less on a par with it. I think the only other thing that's been kind of on that level is a Soviet Energia rocket,
Interesting.
which the Energia itself actually looked kind of cool. I have to I have to give them credit for it. It's actually
Oh,
what they
the Russian space program is a completely different can of
completely different
worms. Which,
animal.
if we want to dive into conspiracy theories, there may or may not be some cosmonaut bodies floating in space somewhere.
I wouldn't be overly shocked. I am unaware of these conspiracy theories, but I would not be shocked.
So the conspiracy theory is that there were some kids in Italy with a high-powered radio who were picked up radio transmissions all in Russian, and I think they grabbed a friend who spoke Russian to listen in with them, and they heard multiple people, one of them complaining about how cold it's getting, another one complaining about how hot it's getting, and just some other interesting things of the Russians probably losing cosmonauts in space and not talking about it to the public.
I would not be shocked.
Yeah, well, we know that they've lost cosmonauts on re-entry, and which is kind of a funny story because the guy who was killed died on the radio cursing out the engineers who he told that the rocket was not going to survive re-entry. So he was burning to death, he wasn't screaming out in pain, he was cursing out ground control.
Well,
yeah,
good for him.
Yeah.
Poor guy. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
I did not. These are things I did not know.
Yeah, the Russian space program is not as clean as the Russians portrayed it during the Cold War.
Are you saying they would lie? The dirty communists would dare lie? The people who would just round up 20 grand people out of a random village just cuz? Well, town, city.
One of my favorite things in the Gulag Archipelago is that in the first volume, there's one chapter on torture techniques, on how to torture someone without leaving a bruise on the body. And for the Audible version, that chapter's an hour long. And it's bullet points with brief descriptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds like there's a lot of techniques.
Yeah.
Yeah, gosh, those Soviets were just awesome.
Yeah, because Soviet law, you couldn't leave a bruise on the body because that would look bad, but you still had to torture people. So, torture their minds.
You know, it's
not even like CIA psyops stuff either. It was like, oh, we're going to keep you up for 2 or 3 days straight, probably 2.
Right.
And then we're going to get the most comfy couch we can find in the entire Soviet Union. We're going to let you sit down in it while we question you. And there's going to be a guy sitting next to you to wake you up every time you doze off.
Oh man, that would honestly, I'm not even joking. That would be torture because if I'm tired and I'm dozing off and people are like poking me to keep me awake, I hate that. I hate it.
Yeah,
that is the literal worst.
Another one was they'd put you in a room that was too short to stand up in and too thin to lay down in. One of the more wild ones was this guy said that while he was being questioned by a female, you know, what you call those people? Yeah, interrogator. She was taking her clothes off while she was interrogating him. And yeah, a lot of weird stuff. That was probably one of the weirdest, but yeah.
That does fall under the bizarre heading, but again.
Yeah, it's a lot of weird stuff.
It is it is Soviet Russia, so there you go.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm not going to lie. Some of this sounds like a lot like the enhanced interrogation techniques that were deployed during Gulf War 2.0. I ain't gonna lie. It's like
I mean,
this.
they probably had to learn from somewhere.
This sounds familiar. I've heard this before. Sounds like
Yeah,
whoever was in charge of that probably read their Solzhenitsyn.
yeah. Didn't have to read far. It's like only the 4th chapter in the 1st volume.
Well, there you go. Words are hard anyway, and it's
Yeah,
broken down into bullet points, so that's helpful.
yeah.
It's like he wouldn't have done that if he didn't mean it to be used like that. I mean, come on. But okay, so as we're coming up on the hour here, Clay, um, what do you think is going on next with the world of Bill Whittle? Has he got another series he's working on that, other than that
So
animated
he
one
has
you mentioned?
a few more Daily Wire things that he's going to be doing. More Americans Forgotten Heroes. You can go to the Twitter page, which I'll retweet that out after this is done so people can see it. He's going to be doing another one debunking conspiracy theories. So those are two new Daily Wire things. His Unreal Engine based animation show, which he's trying to get off the ground. That'll be coming soon. Maybe in the next few years here. And if anybody wants any other updates on anything Bill Whittle, tune into Stratosphere Lounge at Thursdays at 6 p.m. This week, however, I think it's going to be on a Friday, but it's typically 6 p.m. on Thursdays, streaming on Twitch at all one word, the Stratosphere Lounge. So,
well, good deal. Oh, excuse me, gosh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
it's only 7 p.m. over here, so.
Yeah, it's getting on 10 here, and I might be going out to go catch some northern lights here because apparently they're expected to be visible tonight.
Fun.
They don't often come down to Michigan, at least as far as
I've been reading that in the paper. I think they're supposed to be in Northern California as well.
Nice.
But I'm not in that part of California.
No, you are not. Now, I've only seen them once before, literally on my way home from work one night.
That's cool. But as far to demonstrate how far south I am, it takes 2 hours to drive to the Mexican border.
You are very far south.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes me about 3 hours to drive to Canada. So there you go. On the other end of on the other side,
I was when I went to Michigan, I was very shocked at the lack of border patrol agents everywhere. Over here, I'm not joking. They're about underneath every single bridge.
Well,
I see more border patrol agents than highway patrol.
We don't have refugees coming over from Canada much.
I imagine it's probably the other way around.
I don't know. Maybe these days. Well, no, not these days actually, but regardless, and not to mention there's a bridge.
Also, if you try to get lost in the Sonoran Desert, somebody's going to try and find you. If you get lost in Idaho or North Dakota, you're never going to be found.
No one cares.
No.
And and similarly, if you get lost in Detroit, they just say Godspeed, man. Good luck.
Yeah, I can say a lot of bad things about LA, but $1 houses is not something I can say about LA.
Detroit is what one might call special.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember reading that it's got, if you took all of the various abandoned areas of Detroit and put them together, it would be the size of Boston. Yeah. I mean, places where running water doesn't reach. They might even have electricity in some areas of Detroit. And you drive through the interstate, like you drive through most big cities on the interstate.
When Bethany was driving me on the way to the airport, I saw the abandoned buildings.
Yeah. Basically in downtown. and it looks fine so long as you don't pay attention. It's like if you're not really looking at the buildings, it looks like any other big city. Until you see, how did they get graffiti on the 40th floor of that skyscraper that looks like it's falling apart?
See, LA's problem is just homelessness, but Detroit, there is no homelessness because nobody's living in the buildings.
Right.
And so squatters.
Yep. Oh yeah. Yep. Lots of squatters inside the buildings, which is I gotta say is probably nice. If you're homeless, Detroit's kind of a good place to be. It's easy to find a roof over your head until the crackheads chase you out.
I mean, I've been told by numerous politicians that guns aren't that hard to get. And what's it? I think national average is only 60% of murders get solved. Meanwhile, in Detroit, it's the exact opposite. I remember hearing that it's I think from Steven Crowder that only 3 out of 10 murders are solved in Detroit. So
Not surprising.
if you're looking to dump a body, either go to the middle of the desert, Lake Tahoe, or Detroit.
Yeah. Yeah, Detroit would be handy. I was there once. This is quite the aside from Bill Whittle, but I was there once on New Year's Eve. My wife had some friends that were living in the area, and so we went out there and for a New Year's Eve party, and I couldn't help but notice, like, it's New Year's Eve. It's a major city. This place is dead until you actually went to Greektown, where there's clubs and restaurants and stuff, which is really just a couple of blocks. That's it.
See, we have the opposite problem because I'm 30 miles from Camp Pendleton, which is the largest Marine Corps base in the entire United States.
Mm-hmm.
And New Year's Eve is you don't go to Oceanside because pretty much everybody who's drunk is probably a Marine.
Yeah, and those aren't the people you want to piss off when they're drunk. You don't want to piss them off anyway, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
So
they're a special breed.
Yeah. Yes, in many ways. Well, Clay, I want to say thanks for coming in and just sharing kind of your own insight and experience with Bill Whittle and kind of the greatness that is Bill Whittle, really. And we're going to have you on sometime just to talk about your World War II stuff and airsofting.
Yeah, well, if we want a teaser,
please.
Let's see if this is a World War II flight helmet and oxygen mask. The ear receivers are in it, which is kind of rare. I will not say how much this cost me because I know Bethany will get very upset. But yeah, we can definitely talk history and race cars and how history impacts race cars because I think everybody's kind of familiar with the Ford, or I'm sorry, not the Ford, the Dodge Superbirds and the Plymouth Superbirds and Dodge Daytonas, the nose-coned, big-winged race cars from the 60s. I know there was one in the latest Fast and Furious movie. And the way those were designed is because after Chrysler got rid of their missile program, they needed to win NASCAR races because Ford was winning too much. And so they pulled one of their former engineers who worked on their missiles to design the race car so they could go win races. Ford only won 7 races in 1970. The entire rest was Dodge and Plymouth, and this is out of like a 30-something race season.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, have a rocket scientist design your race car.
Yeah, and this is stock car racing. This isn't normal racing, which, by the way, we can answer who the greatest NASCAR driver is of all time next time, and I have a very interesting answer to that. It is not very clear cut, but yeah. Also, Ford pulled missile designers. Like, have you seen Ford versus Ferrari?
I have not. No.
Oh, you should watch it. It's very good. But Ford pulled some of their aerospace people to help design the race car. because if you don't sell cars, then missiles aren't made. So,
Fair.
yeah,
I love Margot. What is NASCAR?
NASCAR is the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing, which I have a lot to say about that too, but not a lot of it is very nice.
It's just one big long left turn, Margot. That's all you need to know.
More or less. But I mean, any stick and ball sport, including hockey, Margot, is just running back and forth on a field. So,
well, I don't know that Margot.
No, Margot's
knows...
a hockey fan, so I'm just
Is
digging
she?
at Margot. Yeah,
I didn't know that. How did I not know that? That is, I'm upset that I did not know that.
But yeah, how about in a week or two here we can talk all about NASCAR and how the Cold War impacted auto racing and vice versa, and some just general history stuff.
Yeah, I think that would be fun.
And how the car world impacted history.
Yeah, absolutely. We will have to set that up.
Yeah, so next time when I'm on, it will be NASCAR, sports car racing, and how Cannonball was set up to oppose Jimmy Carter's 55-mile-per-hour national speed limit.
That's awesome, and I do love that movie.
Yeah, well, it's a real thing that happened. But yeah. So I think we have our topics for next time.
I think we do. Well, all right,
and
Clay.
Keeping it within the history realm.
Absolutely. All right, then, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to, well, do what you can out there. Keep fighting the good fight, because there's a lot of good fights that need to be fought, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Go subscribe to BillWhittle.com.
Yes, do that. It's taking forever to decide it's ending. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it ended half an hour ago and we just didn't know.
Maybe the people who are behind the stream here were too enthralled with the hook and want us to keep going, but it's a little late where you're at. So
it is, and it's actually, I actually got a thing that says having trouble connecting. Please check your internet connection. And it said it still needed to end the broadcast. So I don't know what's going on with that. That is really weird. But then again, it's like my internet connection is really, really, really bad tonight for whatever reason. But anyway, I think we can probably just go ahead and leave the studio then.
All right, I'll talk to you next time.
All right, man. Take it easy. Bye.